Good morning, welcome to Bars and Bells. My name is Ian.
I'm Lauren.
This is the weekend workout where we invite you to play with your strength and hit subscribe, but maybe eat later after we warm up with the body weight and explore those skills such as the handstand. We'll start with some nice mobility drills. Lauren will take us into some core strength and stick with us for some wall stands and that ultimate skill, the handstand. At the head neck, start with a light chin tuck looking down to the ground. A small movement is good. Then extension or up. Repeat one more time of each, and the hands could be at your sides or just lightly clasped behind your back. Flexion looking down, extension looking up, and then chin in and crown head high. Next, next, laterally bend at that head neck. That's an ear to a shoulder. And as we're doing this, make sure that the chin is staying in the same place and you're moving your head without moving your neck. Repeat one more time, laterally bending to the one side, return through the middle, and then repeat the other side and center. Lastly, the rotation. So at the head neck, rotate to one side, through the middle, and repeat the other side. Doesn't need to be a big range, but just check in with the head neck here as you repeat one more time to that side, through the middle, and one last time to the other, and back to center. Same movements now through the rib cage. We'll start with our lateral flexion. Hands across body with a light shoulder blade squeeze, and an up and over action of the rib cage. Then return through center. Soften the one side as we crunch onto it, and then adding some tension to stabilize the movement to go the other way. Repeating again, light effort, side bend with soft abs, and tighten them up to get tall. Soften to bend, and tighten to tall. Now same idea in that frontwards backwards way, emphasizing that the shoulder blades stay retracted. A gentle chin tuck first, then a flexion or a rounding shape through the upper back. Keep looking at the ground, but lift the rib cage up. Test your shield, brace your core. Repeat again with a light shoulder blade squeeze and our flexion forward, and then pulling down to go up, and the head could finish that nice range at the top. Adding our rotation, maybe open your stance, and we'll start with our rotation at the head neck. So rotate the head looking a certain way, then keep your head stable and turn the torso to catch up. Keep the hips forward. Then go head to center, torso to follow. Repeat again. Torso stays still as we move the head first, then move through that torso in a rotation, and then rotate the head back to the middle, the body to then follow. Repeating just one more time. Head rotate, keep the head locked in as a stability point, turn the body, return the head to the middle, the torso then follows, and last one, head rotate, torso then, and return the head to the middle, and that torso to follow. One last exercise for me to warm up those shoulders, and then tossing it over to Lauren. Palms forward or thumbs forward, somewhere that's comfortable for you. And at the shoulders, elevate. And that'll be a useful shape for today in the handstand. Then find your armpits as you reach down and make light fists with the fingers. Then bend on the wrists so the knuckles face forward, and then just casually bending on the elbows as a bicep curl. Take the hands and point the knuckles towards each other, but for the most part today, keep those hands pulling apart. Shrug the shoulders, useful for handstands, but then right now, pull them down. Point your elbows forward, and then reset the elbows to the rib cage. And then initiate the extension phase with the fingers as you open the hands, to open or extend the wrist, to extend on the elbow next. 1% squeeze the shoulders together. Then reach those arms behind you, extending on the shoulder. And for one last series, make light fists with the fingers. Keep the elbows straight, but bend the wrists. Our biceps curl next. Pause here for a second and pull those hands apart. And then elbows go down to end up forward. And for the last movement here, keep the shoulders squeezing and point your fingers to the back wall. Then extend on the wrists next. Then extend on the elbows next. And with control, return those hands to your side. Check in with the head, the neck, the body, and these core strategies coming up before we progress your practice in the handstand?
Let's quickly warm up those hips because we know we have some single legs ahead of us. So before we get to the floor, we'll warm the hips up and then the wrists. Standing first, just slightly turned out in that V position. Squeeze your butt cheeks, ribs over top of hips. Next, we'll take a single leg and we'll point it to the front. Now we're standing tall on that standing leg with our weight lightly shifted towards the forefoot. Next, let's turn that front leg in to hide the inseam or internal rotation, and then keeping the pelvis stationary, rotate the leg open. Send the leg to the side and repeat the same thing. Gently turn in on the leg, hiding the inseam, and then from the cheek, rotate it nice and open. Let's lift it just a little bit off the floor and find that first single leg balance. We'll flex the foot, driving the heel away, and then keep the knee nice and straight as it returns underneath. Repeat the same thing on the other side. Transfer that weight, hip pushes forward, weight in the forefoot. Point the other leg to the front. Internally rotate the femur, hiding the inseam, keep the hips nice and level, and then rotate the leg open. Keeping the whole body stationary except for that leg as you send it to the side. We'll again turn the leg in, turn the leg all the way open, flex the foot, and then return that leg underneath. Let's find a two-footed balance by pushing down to go up. Here, we'll hold, keeping those heels high off the ground. Could we add a little knee bend here? Woo. Then push down, stay high on those tiptoes up. This time, let's add the knee bend, but then find the heels, and then push into the floor to stand up tall. Give that a little shake and wiggle. Let's get down to the floor to warm up those wrists before the core. Knees. Gently bend towards over toes. Slowly peeling the heels up. We'll land softly on the floor. Extend the hips forward. Hips extended, rib cage down. Hips extended, rib cage down. And then gently relax. Give yourself a little bit of room and we'll land hands on the floor. So full fingertips land, callus line, and then palms. Once those hands are gripping the floor, let's lightly shrug the shoulders up and then pull the shoulders down. And one more time, shrug the shoulders up and pull the shoulders down. Now with those elbow pits rotated forward and the hands gripping, let's gently do our first knuckle push-ups. That means our fingers will stay connected to the floor, but the palms will leave. As we do this 4 more times, the elbows are nice and straight. The shoulders remain packed and stacked. We're trying to do this as one unit and both hands at the same time. Last one here, and then we'll flick the floor away and give that a little shake out. We'll do a full quarter turn of those hands briefly as we land fingertips and then palms. Let's shrug our shoulders up and then pull them down. With straight elbows lightly sitting back, keep those palms connected to the floor. As you sit back, shoulders out of your ears, but push the fingers heavy, 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 and then rock forward. And now this time as we sit back, we'll try to add an elbow bend, and then we'll slowly peel the palms away and give that a little shake and wiggle. Before we get to that plank position, warming up the core, let's flip to our back and do a hollow hold. I love this one, and it's so hard, so I hate it. But this is our handstand position on the floor. Our palms are up at the sides of our body. Our back is nice and neutral, meaning whatever is going to touch the floor naturally, we're going to keep it that way. So let's lift the head and shoulders off the floor. Breathe. Keep that tension. Maybe this is where you stay. If you'd like to add on, let's lift those feet up off the floor. You could stay here, or you could add a single leg, reach away from center and return, alternating legs, or you could reach both legs long and away, close to the floor and hold. Your cheeks are squeezed, your legs are tight, and ultimately we could reach those arms towards overhead. As we breathe and stay there, let's hold. Are your toes pointed, feet touching, knees straight, quads tight, butt cheeks squeezed, breathing underneath that shield for 5, 3, 2, pull to center, gently relax. Whoa. Next, let's do a quick flip and go from a plank to an A-frame, warming up that elephant a little bit. First, our plank position, hands are under shoulders, toes are tucked, hips are in line with shoulders. Let's squeeze our cheeks, pull the floor together underneath of us. Similar tension to when we were in that hollow hold. Now push the floor forward, lifting the hips up, coming to that nice A-frame shape here. Please feel free to have a little bend in the knees as you prioritize that anterior tip or tailbone to the ceiling. Your shoulders are elevated into your ears. Let's pull ourselves back through to that plank and hold again. Plank hold for 3, 2, then back up to that A-frame. We'll add the elephant walk right now. So opposite hand and foot will peel away from the floor as we take a step or 2 in the forward direction. And by step or 2, I mean 4 to 6. Take your time, breathe. Once you take those steps in the forward direction, could you do the same in the backwards? Remember, it's that contralateral walk, spending some time on wrists, getting your head used to being a bit upside down, and we'll finish this routine one last plank. So pull through, hold, squeeze. This time without moving, imagine pulling your right hand to your left hip and your left hand to your right hip for 3, 2, lift the hips up. Walk your hands back to your feet or your feet to your hands. Hinge or fold and press through to tall. Whew.
Awesome. Get used to those different positions, in particular time on the wrists. We love wrist extension for the handstand, but we know how hard that is. So be patient as you load up those joints, wrists, elbows, and shoulders. But working on other joints now into that low body, let's go back to that first position Lauren had us in earlier, and then just open it up even further to our sumo or our second position squat. From this position, just stay tall and push your feet out. Root the feet, same with your handstand. Straighten the knees, just like those elbows in the handstand, and feel tension on those hips. Now stay tall and pull together, feeling those adductor or the hamstring lines of the body as much as the feet connect and the knees stay straight. Keep pulling, and this time allow those knees to bend. Whether it's low or lower, stay here for a second and try to have your knees reach for the back wall. Then push the hips forward over top of those knees, fully cramping up the knees to straight and those glutes. Repeat again, and maybe you can wiggle and find that place that's just for you as we pull ourselves down in our squat again, and same commitment. We have a cow tip or an anterior tip of the hip, the knees are reaching the back wall, and we're heavy on all parts of the foot. Then push those hips through, finishing tall again. Lauren's favorite number is 3. So let's do that one more time as we pull ourselves down into that squat. This time, could you hike a hip? And then we're hiking the other hip. Doesn't have to be a big movement here. The body is staying stable. We're hiking up those hips, having fun, of course, and then pushing through, and then just dismount, pushing those feet together. More squats with me and more crawls with Lauren. What's the next zoo exhibit?
Well, the next one, let's take it for a little bear crawl. We'll come down to establish our bear crawl first. Knees towards over toes. Heels peel up. Soft landing on knees. Hips extended, ribcage down. All right. First, our bear hover. Establish that position first and we can add on. Hands underneath shoulders, toes tucked. Knees are going to hover just off the floor. You have a really fancy bowl with really fancy water on your back. We don't want to spill that bowl. Either stay here and hold because that's hard enough, or take opposite hand and foot peeling away from the floor and a forward step. Again, check in with that bowl of water. Make sure it hasn't spilled off your back. You're breathing, you're keeping that core tension. Now let's line up our hands and feet where we are and then just put them down for a second. Whew, that's a lot of work. We walked forward. I'd like to take a couple steps to one side, couple steps back to the other side, and then return to where we started. So tuck the toes, lift the knees. We'll take a few steps to one side. It's opposite hand and foot still as we move laterally. Let's do about 2 more steps here, and then return back to where you came from. Again, opposite hand and foot. Bowl of water is still there, so we're steady through the core. Last step sideways. Now if you could continue, backwards back. Flick the floor away. Peel through those hands as we will with our handstand, pushing the floor away. Back to 2, knees down. Whew, that was a lot of work. Keep the toes tucked. Rock yourself back. Find your heels. Push your tall. Shake it out.
Excellent. That is a lot of work. How are we doing? Comments, subscriptions, likes, shares, but focus on our practice, Ian, first with more squats, or distract ourselves with other thoughts because squats can be intense too. We'll pull ourselves down, and as we stand up, pull yourself to 2 feet, and we'll challenge that, towards different positions and some balances. So pull yourself low, and as we stand up, feet together. Pick up the foot, point the toes as we land quietly, and again, together. Up and point, and this time find a single leg base of support, cramping that standing leg, and then point the knee, land softly, and find your balance again on the other side. Then point and land and up to the knee, straighten, land softly, find the other standing leg, and point and land, and one more time, and hold, and straighten that knee. Now push your hip forward, lean just a little bit, and then land on 2 feet, and then same thing on the other side as we point and lean and land just a little bit, and then find your squat and stand up. Shake it out. Back to Captain Lauren.
All right. We're going to continue with that little lateral pattern into a monkey. What that means is we've warmed up that squat, which is good because we're coming back to it right now. So in your squat stance, pull yourself. You're going to have to come down to that low position. Next, it'll be a hand, hand, foot, foot. So the outside hand will reach. The inside hand will come down. Next, it'll be a foot, foot, land. Hand, hand. Foot, foot. We're trying to get a little bit of air time. Get our hips towards overhead as is safe for you. Let's go back in the opposite direction. It's a hand, hand, a foot, foot. We want to be soft on our landing. Soft with our hands absorbing the floor. Last one. Come to center. Push through to tall. Shake it out. Whew. How are those wrists doing?
They're doing pretty well. They are feeling worked. Always check in. We've been on 2 feet in those squats, and Lauren alluded to some single leg movements, so let's challenge that right away. Pull up to that ankle. We've been there just a second ago, and this time on a single leg, a knee bend. Then on that same single leg, push your hip through, fully cramping the glute and straightening up at that knee. 3 repetitions. Knee over toe. We have a cow tip in the hip. Cramp your glutes. Then at the top, you might slightly tuck that under to lock in the hip extension. Repeat again. We have a cow tip in the hip as we descend. The hip pushes through. And for an extra challenge today, could you find the ball of foot rise and hold for time, and then return down. Switch it, perhaps a shake in between, and 3 repetitions now on the other side. It goes knee over toe, and we push that hip through, cramping glutes and pulling up the kneecap. Softening the ankle, creating room for the knee to go over it, and then push the hip through, fully cramping tall. It's that anterior cow tip down. Hold on to that balance, challenge yourself in those deep positions, then also challenge yourself on the ball of foot in that releve or demi-point hold. Return to the ground, 2 feet connect, and shake. We've been to the zoo, we've done our little warm-up here. I think it's time that we explore some of those entries into the handstand.
I was thinking the same thing.
Excellent.
Let's start with that tripod entry. So Team Ian will go first here. Take a little bit of time off in between, either go with Ian or go with myself, but rest those wrists. In that tripod entry, we have our hands gripping the floor. That staggered stance in our feet. Start first with baby air. Just trying to get your feet off the floor and see what it feels like. Once we add a little bit more pop in our step, we're going to get towards that upside down position. As you start doing this tripod, make sure your shoulders are stacked over top of the wrists before you go. You have that light ab brace, and of course, you're trying to kick off with both legs. It's harder on one side, but practice it.
Whew. Do those hard things. Those hard things are probably simple, but very challenging. So Lauren's favorite entry is, again, this tripod kick up. I like the next one that comes up, but pick the one that's for you, but try all things. Keeping the nice scissor action there can help give you some hang time or upside down time in the air. And those are gorgeously pointed toes as you finish. I think I did 6 repetitions and Lauren probably did a very similar number. Shake it out. Let's just get right into that step-in action here. So this is my favorite.
So that step-in entry, I like to think about stepping in that hollow position we practiced on our back. So arms are overhead, shoulders are elevated, cage is down, you already have that light brace, and it's that takeoff off that single leg as you flick the floor away out the back. Keep the elbows nice and straight. As you come back up to standing, really try to push the floor away, just as we did through our hands in those crawls, to get yourself all the way back up to tall. Also remember, when you're doing this step in, you want to think about going up and over a little fence to get towards that handstand position. If you try to attack the fence at a 90 or 45-degree angle, it'll be much harder to get your hips over top of your head.
Up and over. Sounds simple, and it's not. So practice, practice, practice. Lauren goes in that step in with nice straight legs, and as we did in the warm-up with those first knuckle push-ups, push the floor away. Great little legs there, Lauren, and repeating. Stay fresh in your reps and rest when you need. As we will enter in these handstands right now, in a moment, clear your space on the wall, because you're going to go to that wall right there and practice some time under tension to figure out what we really want to find while we're upside down there.
Which is balance.
Balance. So I'm going to go right to that wall. 15 seconds on the clock. If you're with me, go ahead.
If you don't have a wall, remember you could use the edge of your couch, coffee table, but make sure those objects are stationary against a wall, which means you probably have a wall. So find a clear space and slowly walk yourself up. Your first time doing this, you might not get all the way towards the wall. That's okay. Maybe it's an L shape you're making. Maybe you're making a little bit of a ladder-like lean. No problem. We're just spending another couple seconds, 3, 2, getting used to upside down, trying to find a little bit of balance, but ultimately just working on that wrist endurance.
And again, choosing your entry of your preference, again, that step in or the tripod, and then using the wall to reinforce the tension and the shape and how we will behave upside down. And Lauren is pushing down into the ground and her shoulders are shrugged. In our barre practice, in our bodyweight practice, that's a very good shape. Maybe 5 more seconds for that team Lauren there. Lauren's toes are off the wall. And then a nice smooth dismount. Returning to our single leg squats to give the balance an extra set, but to give the hands a little rest. Pull up to that ankle position again. This time we'll use that elevated leg in a moment as a kickstand. Get as low as you can safely, then implement this kickstand idea to help yourself get lower. Then take the kickstand away and push the hip through, fully cramping the glutes and straightening at the knee. Repeat again, down on that single leg, touch down to support, get lower as allowed, lift up, and cramp those glutes pushing through. And the final time, knees over toes. Little kickstand, get nice and low, remove a kickstand, and push the hip through. Let's save the toe balance for a little bit later, but shake it out now. Returning to the other side. The higher this leg is that's off the floor could help you get lower on the other hip. Then use a kickstand, get lower, remove a kickstand, and push through, finishing tall. Repeating again, knee over toe. Little touch, little low. Remove a kickstand and push on through. Whether the hands are on the hips like me or in that prayer position out front like Lauren, use them to help you find your balance and push through, finishing tall. After some legs, it's time to go back to that wall.
Back to that wall.
How long?
So you'll notice that we are facing the wall versus kicking up to it with our back to it. We're doing that to encourage that hollow position versus that rounded or that banana shape. Practicing that banana shape will not help your hand balance. I'm sorry to tell you that. But we are practicing the one that will. So come join us facing the wall. Yes, it's harder, but that makes it better. We're pointing towards the ceiling. We're keeping the elbows nice and straight. The shoulders are slightly elevated. We're in your upside down position, whatever that may be for you. Ian's been up there for going on 15 seconds here. Let's do another 5, 3, 2, and then safe dismount. You might have noticed his legs fluttering as he just tried to find that light balance without the wall for a second or two.
These drills we do online with you, and in our own exercise practice, we do them as well because they help, they work, they help us get to that ultimate skill of the handstand. So we're going for 20 seconds on the clock there. And Lauren, again, is just hovering off that wall with 2 feet. So whether those 2 feet are connected, that's kind of a nice beginner level. Next level could be a single leg off, and as a tick-tock action, replace one leg with the other. And then right there, both feet are off for like 2 more seconds there, Lauren, and then return yourself to the ground and shake it out. Excellent. One last time on these squats, and then one more ultimate move to finish. So pull up to that ankle. This time, go down on 2 feet and straighten the leg out front. Then take that leg from the front to the side, then return it back to the front, return it underneath, and then push the hip on through. Now open the knee to the side. Then do a nice single leg squat down. Then open the leg to the side, and then return it to the front and hold, and then back to the side, bend the knee, and stand up nice and tall. Close up that leg, and for the last challenge today, just find again that single leg balance on the knuckles of the feet there with straight knees, squeezing bum cheeks, and then return with control to 2 feet. And a shake. Repeating the same thing on their side. So from a parallel position, we'll go the knee over toe. We'll straighten the leg, creating time under tension down here, and keeping this elevated leg hip forward as you reach the leg to the side, and then back to the front, back underneath, and then push the hip through. Then open your knee to the side and do our single leg squat here. We'll stiffen or straighten the knee this time to the side first, and then back to the front. Could you get lower? And then to the side, pushing the hip forward, returning underneath, standing tall. Pull the knees to the front, and the last single leg balance here for today is finding those knuckles of the feet, stiffness in the knee, crampedness in the bum cheek, and that control piece Lauren just showed, returning to the floor with our shakeout. The skills like the crawls, cores, balances, wall stands, handstand entries, what's it all for?
Well, it leads us to our ultimate journey, which is that handstand for us, but might be just spending some time upside down for you in that crawl version, in that plank, increasing core strength. There's just so many benefits. I will not go on. But one benefit is we get to spend 1 minute of fun here working towards our overhead position. So like I mentioned, that could be holding a plank, crawling like an elephant, moving to side like a bear or a monkey, going back to the wall. Whatever it is you choose, we're going to practice for 1 minute. We're choosing that minute because we're trying to build towards that ultimate minute of handstand, and that means working on that wrist endurance. So we'll start in 5 seconds. It might get quiet because we're still at the learning phase, which means we can't talk and do. In 3, 2, enter.
Oh,
That was good.
45 seconds.
So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's good for us though today.
I know, but I'm just going to finish spending some time on my hands with them.
Awesome.
Like
Good
this.
idea.
Whoa. Breathing.
Oh.
Working through that little elephant crawl for 3, 2, and then make your way back
Nice.
up.
We'll have to check that instant replay to see whose handstand lasted longer, but it doesn't matter, honestly, who
Even though it
was
doesn't
lasting
matter.
longer. It doesn't. Did you have fun? We sure did, and that's why we do this every Saturday. Live at 8 with you, and most importantly, with you. There we go.
On Tuesday, it all starts again, back to our kettlebell practice on this side of the room. We'll play with our strength. We've been doing summer workouts, so putting all our skills together, working on some endurance and strength. On Thursday, we're back to the bar. This week, let's press at the bar while working on some hip mobility. And then Saturday, we're back with our bodyweight practice. We have lots of playlists. Our past semesters are up there. Some little shorter videos, little quick movement hits. Check those out. And until next time, check out our Patreon too. Like and subscribe. Take care.
Stay strong.
And let's train soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.